Welcome, English 130 students. We are now in Module 4, and I want to encourage you all to take some time and celebrate yourselves. So far, I have been incredibly impressed with your performance in this class. Most of you have been submitting your work on time, and you've been submitting work that is high quality and very interesting to read. When we have discussion boards, many of you are jumping into discussion. You're posting your initial posts by Thursday night. You're responding to your classmates. And I have to say, I am impressed. So I hope that you are impressed with yourselves. And I hope that you guys are excited for us to begin putting the pieces of our big project together. So let's start talking about Module 4. I am already in the module. As always, we have a Module 4 introduction. You want to click on that and read what we'll be working on in the module. It just gives you some information about the fact that we're going to be working on creating a thesis and we're going to be writing an introduction in this module. So rather than going in and reading it for you, I'm just going to focus on the two assignments that are due this week and highlight where the resources are. Also, if there's anything that you would like me to do voiceover videos on or anything that you need help with, feel free to send me an email or drop a suggestion on our general questions discussion board, and I'll be happy to look at those suggestions and see what I can implement for you. So, as always, we always click into our Module 4 introduction. I want to make sure that you're looking at this, read it. There's some pretty cool tips for success here. We also have a Module 4 guide. A lot of times, this is a very concise document that goes over important information for the module. So here it talks about creating a thesis statement. I did try to give you some information already on thesis statements and my announcement for module 3. But so I suggest that you go back to that if you want, but also look here at our module 4 guide where it just talks about creating a thesis statement. And I have to say, of all of the Englishy things, Englishy, that's a fun word, Englishy things that I get to discuss, the thesis statement is one of the most fun because it truly is the most important sentence of your essay. It is your guide map, it is your GPS, it is what tells your reader where we are going and what to expect. Okay. So, for the purpose of this guide, it says the thesis, excuse me, is your main claim plus your key points. In your thesis, you state your stance on the topic of your writing. When you create a thesis statement, you create a structure for the ideas in your writing. That structure also helps your audience know what to expect if they keep reading past your thesis. To create it, you need to organize two concepts, and this is really important. You want to organize your central claim and you want to have your supports for that claim. And in the assignment that you're going to do on the thesis statement, you're going to do exactly this. So it says, how do you know what your central claim is? You can think of it as what you believe to be true about the topic that you're exploring. It is arguable rather than a fact, which means it requires evidence and support in order to make other people believe it with you. And that's really important because if your thesis statement is a fact that doesn't require anything to be explored or studied or proven, then you don't have a thesis statement at all. Remember that we're trying to choose a thesis statement that is arguable, that has logical people on both sides. Okay. You can ask, what is my topic? And also, what do I believe is true or what do I believe people misunderstand about my topic? One thing I always say is that the thesis statement is made up of your topic plus what you have to say about your topic. And your guide is saying the same thing. Okay. If you answer those questions as a single statement, you have the first part of your thesis. So I want to pause there. It's really important to understand that your thesis is going to have two parts in your project or your assignment, excuse me, for module 4, the first one. You're going to create the first part of your thesis and you're going to create the second part of your thesis, and then you will put them both together for one thesis statement. It says here, then to pull together the support for your thesis claim, you can ask yourself these questions. Why do I believe that claim is true? Why do I believe it works? When is it true and under which conditions? You may not have the answers to all of the questions, and you might have two or three different answers for one question, the why most typically. Just trust yourself and your way of thinking about your ideas. Once you have three or four answers, to, excuse me, so sorry, the pollen has been attacking me. Once you have three or four answers to the why, how, and when questions, you can turn them into a list and attach them to the claim statement you made earlier. This equation of what you believe and how and why you believe it is your thesis. This is the single most important sentence on this guide. The equation of what you believe and how and why you believe it is your thesis. Okay? So I'm very much looking forward to your thesis assignments. And once I grade your assignment, I will be giving you feedback to let you know what I think about your thesis. We'll be discussing the strong points of the thesis. If there's anything I think you can add to maybe strengthen it, that's all feedback that you will be getting once your thesis statement assignment is graded. And then we have the next part because you have two assignments due in Module 4, drafting and introduction. An introductory paragraph has three parts, typically in this order. You have a hook or an attention grabber, you have context, and you have your thesis. If you notice, even though the thesis is the most important sentence in your introduction, it comes last. And that's because introductions follow what I like to call an upside down triangle model. So we start at the most broad with our hook or our attention grabber. This is the sentence or a couple of sentences that are designed to pull the reader in. It's supposed to make the person reading want to continue. The context provides some general overview information of my topic so that my reader understands what we're getting into. And all of that narrows down or funnels down to the thesis, which is my claim statement, the equation of what I believe plus how and why I believe that. Okay. Once you've drafted your thesis, the next step is to draft the hook and context for your introduction paragraph. So, this is suggesting that we sort of work backwards when we're doing our introduction. And I think that's very important. Writing is not a linear process. It is okay to start from the end and work your way up. It is okay to start in the middle. It is fine. When it comes to writing, you draft in the way that makes you feel most comfortable. I've had students write their thesis and then write their body and go back to their introduction. When you have the type of assignment that allows for that, that is fine. In the case of this course, we're working on our introduction first, and then we're going to move on to our body paragraphs. So I just want you to be comfortable with the fact that we're going to write the thesis first, which is our last sentence, and then we're going to fill in the things that come before it. Okay. Once you've drafted your thesis, the next step is to draft the hook and context for the introduction paragraph. To do this, ask yourself the following. One, what is the subject of the article and what makes it exciting? A lot of us chose take a break, so I expect to read a lot of that. And also, what does your audience need to know to make for your thesis to make sense? That's important. So there is important historical and cultural context that you might want to touch on in your context part of your introduction. That should be a part of the overview that sort of prepares the reader for what's coming. Okay. So now we have what breaks all of these things down. Hook. The first sentence of the introduction should introduce the subject in a bold or interesting way. Here's an example of a hook. By 2030, entire knowledge industries might be overtaken by artificial intelligence workers. That is a very bold and scary statement. Notice how this statement about the subject of the reading and um, notice how this is a statement about the subject of the reading and a bold statement that would engage the audience and make them want to read more. Think about it. When you're hit with that type of shocking statistic, it does make you want to know more because, especially me, as somebody who works right now in an industry that's been um, dealing with AI in a huge way, I'd want to know, where are you getting the basis for the statistic? And what do you know that I don't know? Because 2030 is, 6 years away. This is really important, right? So I want you to know that when you're doing a hook, there are lots of ways to do it. You can do it by a provocative or shocking statistic. You can do it by like an imagine that scenario where you sort of paint a picture for your reader to sort of pull them into a scenario. You can tell a personal story or anecdote about your topic that sort of introduces them to what you're going to be talking about, but provides them some information about yourself. You can ask a question. There are several different ways to provide a hook that's going to draw your readers in. Your job is to attract readers to your writing so that they would never put it down. And as your teacher, I'm very excited about hooks because I do not want to read boring papers. So the fact that I'm going to get to read all of you try to draw me in, I'm very excited about that. Next, we have context. After writing the hook, the next step is to provide context that will help the audience understand your thesis. If the purpose of your writing is to analyze a written text, you can provide context to your audience by including a concise summary of the reading. This is very important. Guys, it says a concise summary. That just means give me a really brief synopsis, really brief snapshot of the text you read. Please, please, please remember summaries should be short. I do not need a one-page summary. We can summarize in a couple of sentences, okay? It should usually be no more than 20% the length of the original text anyway. So it says, along with other information that is necessary for the audience to understand your thesis. This is an example of a summary that is used to provide context to the reader. So this is the same article that's discussed in all of the exemplars that have been provided for you. It makes me want to read this article actually. In her article, What Everyone Needs to Know to Be More Productive, Dana, I'm going to ruin her last name, addresses these issues by focusing on workers who feel they are competing with artificial intelligence technologies and each other and want to be more productive in order to be more competitive in the workplace and as earners. She evaluates a range of productivity tips and shares the best and most popular productivity tips as well as popular tips that are not as useful. So, in this small summary, 2 sentences, this writer sums up this article and gives the reader context so the reader can understand, okay, this is sort of what's happening in this paper. This is the context to which I should have in mind as I understand this thesis statement. And this is what we're talking about because all of us are not familiar with everything. So providing context helps prepare the reader for what's coming next. And it also gives them a chance to activate some prior knowledge if they do have some knowledge of what's being discussed in the paper. And then we get to the best part, the thesis statement. After you've written the hook and the context, you can end the introduction by adding your thesis as the last sentence of your paragraph. I'm going to say that one more time because people like to move the thesis all around, right? After you've written the hook and context, you can end your introduction by adding your thesis as the last sentence of the paragraph. This process removes the mystery from writing introductory paragraphs. Once you've drafted your paragraph, you have completed a significant step, but you're not done. Think of your introduction as a work in progress with room to improve by revising and editing it until you have a polished product. And that's really important. That means you're going to finish your introduction for your assignment for this week, but don't feel married to every word in that introduction because it might get tweaked, it might get revised, it might get edited as you continue to work on your paper and sort of prune it into what you want, and that is okay. All good writing has been through extensive revision and editing. So if you've got to edit, if you've got to cut, if you've got to revise, look at that as a positive thing because that is a very important part of the writing process. And then we have our key concepts here. And I told you this was not going to be a long video, so I'm going to try my best to go over the assignments that we're going to turn in and wrap it up. I am so sorry, you guys. Okay, so we've went through the entire Module 4 guide. You have resources here that you also want to read. I will not be reading them, but I want to click on it so everybody knows where everything is, okay? So remember, We click on our resources tab and we have required resources here. Required resources means you are required to read these textbook chapters and links, okay? So we have chapter 9 here, and then we have links, excuse me, for you to click to access each part of the chapter. These links are not very long, okay? So please take the time to click them and read them. We have chapter 24. We have drafting introductions, which will come in very handy for our second assignment right here. And we also have a video, write about ideas from reading. So that's really good because it's going to give you some tips on how to write about the ideas from the text that you read. And then we have one more video called the writing process, and it just talks about the steps of the writing process and gives you some extra information about the planning stage or the pre-writing stage. And it also discusses the differences between revising and editing because contrary to popular belief, they are not the same thing. And also you have an APA style guide link here, you have an MLA style link here. There's some additional support. It is optional. So that means once you've looked at all of this, which is required, if you need more information or you would just like to, you can look at the rest of this. And it's all very valuable. Introduction to audience and writing situations. This will help you, especially as you get into the body of your paper next week. We have chapter 33 here, which talks about inclusive writing and how to avoid stereotypes in writing. We have chapter 7, which talks about explanations as a genre. Chapter 8 talks about arguments as a genre. And that's it. So, I know it looks like a lot, but I promise it's not as much as it seems to be. Please take the time to look at your required resources. And if you have questions, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk to you about any of your required resources if you need that. But I look forward to you reading it and just giving me some feedback about what do you think of the textbook chapters? Because I found them to be interesting. I found them to not be very long and to be very helpful. Even as the teacher, I've enjoyed this textbook. Okay. All right. So once you've looked at all of your resources, it is time to start our first assignment 4-1 decision tree, creating a thesis statement. So we're going to click it here. And what we always do is we look at our guidelines and rubric. Remember, if you see blue text, click it. Good job. Okay. So for Module 4, Decision Tree Guidelines and Rubric, it just talks about what we're going to do here. In this assignment, you'll be guided through decisions in order to create the thesis statement for your project. When you create a thesis statement, you create the structure for your ideas in your project. That structure also helps your reader know what to expect if they keep reading past the thesis. So it just tells you what to do. The directions here are really important, so I suggest that you look at them more than one time and follow them exactly. The directions say, address the following items in chronological order. The answers to these questions will help guide you in forming your thesis statement. Submit the answers and your thesis statement using the template linked in the What to Submit section. That is really important. If you are provided with a template within your module, you are required to use it. So please use your template. And if you run into issues or problems, please reach out to me and I will be happy to help. Specifically, you must address the following. Part 1, first part of the thesis statement. Address the following items, which will become the first part of your thesis. Remember, guys, your thesis has two parts, and this worksheet or template breaks it down so that you can do part 1 first, part 2, and then put them together. So, for part 1, you want to identify your topic. It says, what is your topic? You're going to write your topic here. Number 2 says, what is your claim? The claim is what is true or misunderstood about your topic. Remember that this is your claim about the effectiveness of the text. What do you believe is true or what do you believe people misunderstand about your topic? So, like I said, quite a few of you chose the Take a Break article, which suggested was talking about the importance of stress management, and they did suggest that this could be geared toward caretakers. Some others of you chose the time management article. I think I saw one or two people choose the other choice that dealt with, trying to remember here, the tech industry changes. So these articles were interesting articles. But remember, just because you read something or you're given something that somebody wrote, whether it's an article from a peer-reviewed journal, whether it's an article from a magazine, whether it's from a newspaper, whether it's from a credible news site, that still doesn't mean that everything in that text is effectively presented. It doesn't mean that the writer was successful in effectively communicating his or her message. And your job is to analyze it and see whether or not this message, whatever it was, this core idea, this topic, whether this information was conveyed effectively. Was the information given in the way that the desired audience or intended audience needed it? Okay. So that's when audience awareness comes into play because if your article addresses some things that the audience needs to know, but leaves other things out, that's something that you could mention in your thesis statement. If you feel like maybe some research was presented, but there should have been more evidence and support given to support the claim of the article, those are things that we want to explore because you're trying to figure out your claim. Okay. And so once you've identified your topic and your claim, you put them together to form the first part of the thesis statement. And I just want to say another thing. One thing that makes it easier to decide what your claim about your article is making sure that not only have you read this article or this text several times, but you should have extensive notes on this article. None of these articles are very long, so note taking should not take that long. Most of you already have notes, but if you don't have notes on these articles, I suggest that you write notes, you annotate your text, which means you interact with it. If you have questions about your text, write that down. Sometimes your questions as a general reader could be something that you could use as the claim part of your thesis statement. So I encourage you so very much, if you have not done it already, to take extensive notes on this text and really understand and break down what is it saying, what information is it giving, does this article meet the audience's needs? If it does, how does it do that? If it doesn't, what is missing, right? The second part of your thesis is here. It says address the following items. What will become the second part of your thesis, which will become the second part of your thesis statement? Explain different reasons why the claim is true. So remember, in the first part, you identified your topic and you have a claim, right? In the second part, you've got to explore your reasons for why your claim is true. You want to provide 3 reasons why your claim is true, and you want to discuss how or why it is true or not true, and combine the different reasons why the claim is true to form the second part of the thesis statement. So basically what this is doing is you've got a topic, you've got a claim, and you've got your reasons why your claim is true. Okay? And if you look at your exemplars, there are really good examples of a thesis statement that would work for this type of assignment. Part 3, compose the thesis statement. So this is just when you put your statements together. The thesis statement should be formed by combining the partial statement for number 3 and the partial statement from number 5. The two partial statements should be formed together to make one whole sentence, which is your thesis statement. Now, I'm going to kind of go off script here, but I want to do this in an attempt to help people that need it. And if you don't need it, you can just skip past this because I don't want to waste anybody's time. But just in case this thesis statement stuff is just not sticking for you, I want to show you something. So remember, the first part is your topic plus, not equals, plus your claim. And this is just to kind of provide an example. This is not going to be a perfect example because I'm sort of just coming up with this as I go. Very English teacher style, very old school English teacher style. Okay. So I need my topic plus my claim and then my reasons why my claim is true. So if my topic is, let's say I read an article on TikTok. That is something that's really popular right now. The thing that's very timely is that the United States is attempting to ban TikTok, or at least regulate TikTok, and it's sort of divided people. So let's say I read an article on TikTok. So my topic would be the TikTok ban. My claim would be maybe that I'm pretty sure it's not. It's TikTok with two capital T's. My claim will be that the TikTok ban will hurt US citizens more than it will help. Okay, this is my claim, right? So my part one is done, right? I have my topic, which is the TikTok ban or TikTok. My claim is that the TikTok ban will hurt US citizens. That should not be capitalized. Can you tell that I need sleep and coffee? That the TikTok ban will hurt US citizens more than it will help, right? So now I need what? I need part two, which is my reasons why my claim is true. So if I'm looking for reasons, I need to have one, one, two, three, right? So let's start with the first reason. I'm going to come up with the first reason why my claim is true. So if I say that my claim is that the TikTok ban will hurt US citizens more than it will help them, I need to have reasons why this TikTok ban is harmful, right? So my first reason is going to be that many people will lose income generated from TikTok engagement, right? But how many reasons am I supposed to have, guys? I'm supposed to have three, so I need more reasons. Because the first thing I thought was, well, what about all of the, thousands, probably more than that, creators that are making monthly income on TikTok? What happens to them? They're going to lose money. Um, Not only people, but I'm sure that businesses will suffer, right? Because they're going to lose ad revenue. The only thing is, I don't want all of my reasons to have to do with money, but let's see. And you see, even me, I'm an English teacher. I'm struggling coming up with reasons for how this TikTok ban is harmful, right? So this would be something where if I'm still stuck, I need to do more research on it because maybe my claim is not one that I can support if I'm having so much trouble coming up with reasons. So that's something that you want to think about for yourself. If your claim is hard for you to give a rationale for, you need to change it. Okay. Because even me, I figured, oh, this will be easy because I'm not supportive of the TikTok ban so much, even though I have not made a dollar from TikTok. So I don't even understand why I have any issue with this. Oh, I do have one more reason here. This ban could set a dangerous precedent, making it easier for the government to regulate social media platforms. Now I'm proud of myself for that one because that was a good one, okay? Now I need a third reason. Hmm. Third reason, claim while TikTok ban will hurt US citizens more than it will help. We're gonna have kind of a not so strong one, but we're gonna have it for now. Oh, I got one. Okay, no, 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 no. I'm gonna figure out a different way to say this. Right. So that took a while, guys, but I am done. So now I have quickly, well, not quickly, but I have loosely done your assignment here. Make this thicker here. And I'm sorry for the pausing or for it taking a while. But what I basically tried to show you is that it takes time to come up with a thesis statement, to come up with your claim, and then figure out how do I provide rationale for my claim. So I just did this for you. And so for us to be done here, I'd have to figure out how to put my claim together with my reasons. Okay. So it would look something like the TikTok ban will help US citizens more than it will help because many will lose income generated from TikTok engagement. This ban could set a dangerous precedent, making it easier for the government to regulate social media platforms. And a ban would mute the voices of many people, especially those in marginalized groups. So I have a topic plus a claim, and then I have provided my three reasons or my rationale for my claim. So, like I said, this was kind of quick. It was just supposed to be an example. It is not perfect, but I just wanted to show you, even me as your teacher, it took me a second to come up with reasons for this thesis statement. And it should take you some time also because writing a thesis statement is not a process that should be done quickly. It should be done thoughtfully and carefully. Okay, so let's go back here now that I've given like a mini lesson here. Um, in order to do this assignment, excuse me, you want to make sure that it's completed on the Module 4 decision tree template. So even though I just did it in Word, if I was a student in your class, I would complete my assignment on the SNU Module 4 decision tree template. You're going to go ahead and everywhere it says insert text, you're going to do that. Remember to go ahead and remove your brackets. Brackets are these things right here. Okay. All right. And also, I want you guys to take time to look at the sample. So we have a sample here. that just shows you basically what I did, just in a different way. It gives you an example of how you could possibly fill out this template. And this is a really good example. It's based on the article that none of us have read, but it's an actual article and it gives really good examples of how to do your first part of your thesis, your second part, and then how you put these pieces together to compose the whole thesis statement here. Okay. And if you notice an example, we have our topic, which is productivity culture. We have our claim, and then we have our reasons. Reason one is here. Let me make this a bit bigger. We have our reasons here. Reason one, we've got reason two, and we've got reason three. Okay. And then we have all of this together. Okay. So, all right. So please make sure, like I said, that you do it on the template and that you also look at the exemplar here, which is an example for you to follow. Also, it sort of gives you an idea to the style that the grader is looking for, the grader being me. This is also your rubric. So remember to look at your rubrics because this will tell you how you will be graded and how to earn proficient, which is 100% in each area. So, like here, it says for the first portion topic, if you identify the topic correctly, you get proficient, which is 100% here. That's 10 points. For stating the claim, you get 10 points. For combining the claim and the topic, 10 points. For giving your three reasons, 30 points. That's 10 points per reason. For combining the why responses, you get 10 points. For having your thesis statement completed, the whole thesis, 20 points. And then for communicating consistently in an effective, organized way, you get 10 points for that. So the template breaks everything down. And if you do what you're being asked to do, it is very easy to earn 100% on this assignment. Okay, let's move on because I have been yapping away here. All right, let's look at the second assignment and then I'm going to wrap this up. Okay, so remember if you see blue, click it. For the second assignment, you're going to write your introduction here. Okay, so we're going to skip the overview and go right to the directions. For this assignment, you will write the preliminary, introduction for the first version of your paper. You have already identified the topic, the audience and their needs, and the writing situation. Additionally, you've written a thesis statement. Now it is time to put all of these elements together to form the preliminary introduction. So it says, according to the authors of your textbook, an introductory paragraph has four purposes: to draw the reader into your essay, to introduce the topic of your essay, to provide some background information, and to present the main idea thesis of the essay. And if you notice, these are all the parts of the introduction. Number one is the hook. Number two and three is the context. And then number four is your thesis statement. Okay. Address each of these four purposes by composing an introduction paragraph using the template linked in the What to Submit section. Notes. Introducing the topic and providing some background information can be combined to form an overview of the topic. The terms essay and paper are synonymous regarding the textbook language in this assignment. The terms main idea and core idea are synonymous regarding the textbook language in this assignment. That's just saying that if it refers to essay in one place and paper in the other, they're talking about the same thing. The same with main idea and core idea. We're talking about the same concept, okay? It just has a different name. So, to complete this assignment successfully, you're going to address the following. Number one, you're going to write sentences to draw the reader into the paper. Remember, we talked about the hook and how we can do that. We can provide a shocking or provocative statistic. We can ask a question. We can present a imagine that type of scenario. We can provide a personal anecdote or a personal story. There are all sorts of ways. And another thing you can do is even do a little bit of research on your own of hooks and different ways people draw readers into their text to see what works best for you and your writing style. Okay. This part of your introduction should be 1 to 2 sentences long. Number two, write sentences to provide an overview of the topic. Introduce the topic of your paper. This part of your introduction should be around 1 to 2 sentences long. Provide background information to the reader audience. This part of your introduction should be around 1 to 2 sentences long. Number three, include the thesis statement you created in the previous assignment in Module 4. This part of your introduction should be 1 sentence long. This is the section in which you will use your thesis statement from the previous assignment in Module 4. Number four, compile all sections to form an introductory paragraph. Compile sections 1 through 3 of the assignment to form a paragraph. B, to do this, you will have to copy and paste your previous responses and combine them into an introductory paragraph. You have some supporting stuff here. Basically, this is your template that you're going to use. Make sure that you use this. I'm going to open this up so you can see it. So you've got it here. It's got space for your hook, space for your overview, space for your thesis statement, and then right here, you combine all of these pieces to one introductory paragraph. And then you save it and you turn it into your teacher, me. Okay. You've also got a sample here or an exemplar. Always look at this. So here we've got your hook, you've got an overview, you've got a thesis statement, and then you've got it all pulled together here. Okay. And then you have your rubric. So for your hook, that's worth 20 points. If you do a hook section and I can identify it here. Providing your overview, that's worth 40 points. Your thesis statement is worth 20 points. Remember, the thesis statement comes from your previous assignment. The entire introduction paragraph where you pull all the pieces together is worth 10 points, and then you always get 10 points for clear communication. So just make sure you're continuing to write in a way that's clear and well organized. Make sure that you're proofreading your assignments before you submit them, and you should have no problem getting your 10 points there. So, guys, that's pretty much it. Even though I don't think I have met my goal of creating a shorter video, what I do hope is that throughout this video, you've got information that you need to get your Module 4 assignments done. I hope that I have anticipated questions that you might have. I hope that I've done a decent job of explaining how to do your Module 4 thesis statement assignment, as well as the preliminary introduction. And again, if you have questions, comments, concerns, you can always go to our general questions forum on the discussion board to ask a question, or you can feel free to email me at t.sutton@snhu.edu, and I'd be happy to get right back to you within 24 hours. So, with that, I will leave you. Have a wonderful week, and I look forward to reading your assignments. Bye bye.